Hello there, and welcome to EPA Insights. I'm Brad from the assessment team here at Highfield, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Fire, Emergency and Security Systems Standard, IFATE version 1.0 Assessment Plan APO2. We want to be able to share with you what we've learned since assessing on this standard. This includes an analysis of the grades and looking at any common trends. We have been gaining assessor feedback and customer feedback where we may have had queries in the past. We hope that you find this useful. Firstly, we are going to touch on the knowledge test. Then we are going to take a closer look at the other assessment methods. These are the practical skills test observation, followed by the professional discussion. Finally, we will finish with some of the general hints and tips for the endpoint assessment. The multiple choice test is usually undertaken through remote invigilation by our proctor system and lasts for 90 minutes. The exam is weighted at 20% of the overall assessment, and core knowledge makes up 60% of the component and options knowledge 40%. The test accounted for 57% of the total failed assessments that we analysed, with the remaining 43% coming from the practical skills observation. This highlights the importance of carrying out mock exams. There is a mock test paper available for each pathway and an updated EPA kit in the EPA resources section of our website for learners to utilise. Moving on to the practical skills test observation. The practical skills test is a simulated assessment that takes place over 2 days in an approved assessment centre where 2 apprentices can be assessed at the same time. The practical skills test consists of a series of tasks that the apprentice will need to complete under controlled assessment conditions. The apprentice will be allocated an assessment bay and provided with the tools and equipment they need to carry out the practical skills test. The assessor will carry out an initial 30-minute briefing with the apprentice to run through general housekeeping and the assessment schedule. We analysed a proportion of learner reports where learners had failed to pass the practical skills test observation, starting with the combined pathway. For each assessment criteria, you can see the percentage of learners who have achieved full marks for these criteria in orange, and the proportion of red identifies the number of learners who have not achieved the full marks that were available in that criteria. Total marks available across the 3 tasks are 132, with the learner needing to score at least 60% plus all the safety critical and safety related criteria in each task to pass. And to achieve a distinction, you must score 80% across all sections of the practical skills test, plus all safety critical and safety related criteria in each task. We will take a closer look at some of these criteria on the following slides. Moving on to the fire pathway. Again, you can see the percentage of learners who have achieved full marks for these criteria in orange, and the proportion of red identifies the number of learners who have not achieved the full marks that were available for that criteria. Total marks in this pathway are 98, with the learner needing to score at least 60% plus all the safety critical and safety related in each task to pass. And to achieve a distinction, the learner must score at least 80% across all sections of the practical skills test plus all safety critical and safety related in each task. Where the mark achieved in the task is less than 60% and or where safety related or safety critical criteria have not been passed, learners will need to resit that task. If task 2 is failed, this will also result in the need to resit the task 3 on any pathway. And lastly, security pathway, where you can see the percentage of learners who have achieved full marks for these criteria in orange, and the proportion of red identifies the number of learners who have not achieved the full marks that were available for that criteria. Total marks available in this pathway are 83, with the learner needing to score at least 60% plus all the safety critical and safety related criteria in the task to pass. To achieve the distinction, the learner must score at least 80% across all sections of the practical skills test, plus all safety critical and safety related criteria in each task. Before we look at the most failed criteria, it's important to remind ourselves of the safety critical related criteria. The assessor will be closely observing these throughout the assessment, and if the apprentice fails in any of these areas, it will result in the instant termination of the whole practical skills test. The safety related criteria are as follows. For the fire and combined and the security, it's isolating the mains electricity safely. Now the trap on this one is the incorrect isolation of the mains electrical supply. In order to prepare, ensure that your learners Complete this section correctly and safely and follow the briefing given by the assessor at the beginning of the session. This will inform them of what they need to do when they want to complete this section. Working within a viable loop circuit. The trap with this one is not working within that viable loop. So learners need to be made aware or be aware of the live electrical connections and how the cables can be used correctly. Let's look at some of the criteria that learners are attempting but not scoring full marks for. We have split these into tasks to reduce duplication. Starting with task 1 across all the pathways. So common areas of fail are CST 1.4, records rectifications during the takeover process. The trap with this one is leaving sections of the form empty. So in order to prepare, ensure every section is completed and ensure all rectifications are entered. S1.1 completes work tasks in a timely manner. For this one, learners are running out of time. In order to prepare, keep an eye on the time, and if the learner is struggling with a task, move on to the next and go back to it at the end if time allows. Ultimately, you can ask the assessor for time prompts as well. CST 1.2 identifies recommendations to non-compliances during the takeover process. The trap in this one is missing the faults on the system. In order to prepare, check for non-compliances to the standard and really take the time to review those and record them when needed. Moving on to task 2 across all pathways, where learners are attempting but not achieving full marks. Common areas of fail are CST 2.2 demonstrates installation techniques of fire, security or emergency lighting systems. The trap with this one is the utilisation of the incorrect equipment and installing in the wrong place. In order to prepare, ensure that you read the specification document in detail and ask the assessor questions if unsure. They'll be able to provide you with further clarification. Moving on to ST 2.1, operates programming and control equipment effectively. The trap here is incorrect programming or not following the programming information. Now, in order to prepare, ensure your knowledge of programming of fire, emergency, alarm systems and CCTV is up to the current industry standards. Additionally, there will be manuals on site available to support you with this. If you can't find those manuals for whatever reason, again, query this with your assessor. P2.2 carries out installation of cables correctly and in a compliant manner. So the trap with this one is incorrect fixings and spacings. So, in order to prepare, ensure current standards for the fixings are known, so you're aware of exactly what you need to do during those assessments. And task 2 within the fire and security pathways. So common areas of fail are CST 2.3, completes installation efficiently. The trap here is not managing time effectively. So in order to prepare, ensure that you review the equipment that's available in the room and then make sure that you make the choices regarding the installation correctly. Make sure that you've installed into the required industry standard. And lastly, task 3 across all pathways, where learners are attempting but not achieving full marks. So common areas of fail for this one are P3.1, completes functionality testing accurately to industry standards to ensure system operation. The trap with this one is not completing the testing fully. So in order to prepare, ensure that everything is tested, if it can be tested, in line with the correct industry standards and make sure you understand those readings. P3.3 completes electrical testing during commissioning. So again, the trap with this one is not taking readings with the required multimeter. The test equipment is all provided. In order to prepare, make sure you understand how to take an accurate reading and get familiar with these multimeters prior. P3.4 completes commissioning documentation accurately. So the trap with this one, again, is paperwork not being completed, but that's also including signing and dating the documents. In order to prepare, review what's required within the industry of a standard completion document and ensure that all sections of the paperwork are fully completed with everything that needs to be in those boxes. And task 3 within the security pathway. Common areas of fail are P3.2 identifies non-compliances and variations during commissioning. The trap with this one is not identifying the non-compliances. In order to prepare, please ensure that you review the paperwork thoroughly and complete all the boxes where required, with a yes, no or an NA response. Moving on to the marginal fail approach. In all pathways, we use the marginal failure approach for the practical skills test observation. Marginal failure in non-safety critical aspects during the practical skills test will not result in an automatic failure, providing the learner is competent and works safely to an acceptable standard, and can demonstrate knowledge in this area during the professional discussion. The marginal fail approach will not apply to any criteria which are safety critical. These will still result in an instant termination and failure of the practical skills test. A marginal fail is defined as 1 mark less than the pass mark per task, or where one of the safety-related criteria have not been met, up to 1 mark per task, which means that across the 3 tasks, a marginal fail could mean that up to 3 marks, up to 1 mark per task, are then available in the professional discussion through additional questioning. In the sample of failed assessments we analysed, no learners failed the professional discussion. But just to recap, the professional discussion is a two-way discussion between the learner and the assessor that should take place in a quiet environment where they won't be disturbed. The discussion should last up to 45 minutes, and learners can utilise their portfolio of evidence to support their discussion. The professional discussion can also be used to ask questions if the learner has achieved a marginal fail in the practical skills test. The employer can be present at the learner's request to support but not lead or influence the assessment. And finally, moving on to the general hints and tips. Firstly, EPA reports. All learners will receive an EPA report, which is for your learners to analyse any areas of assessment criteria that they struggle with. This will help you to continually improve the quality of your learning programmes. There are lots of helpful resources available, including Think About documents to help learners prepare for endpoint assessment. A recently updated EPA kit, which has amplification to further describe the areas that will be assessed. These are all available to download from our website. And last, but certainly not least, mock assessments. These are a key tool at any level to help learners build confidence and prepare for their big day. And that's all from me. Thank you for watching.